Welcome to The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 223, The Power of Release. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host and I'm here today in my home studio, not in 818 Studios, which is unusual. I love recording at home and I have a beautiful view of the Florida sun outside. It is a beautiful day. It is a great day to be alive, dear friends. And I hope you're sensing, feeling, and knowing this energy with me that as souls, we are here with a purpose. As souls, we are here to grow, prosper, and evolve. And to me, this is great fun to know this. To me, this is exciting. It also calls us higher. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity that we have as souls to grow at such a time. What I mean by that is that this time that we are in on planet Earth is a time of great change. It's a time of great transformation. I am seeing old systems die away, and I'm seeing new systems emerge almost daily. I'm talking about new systems of working, new ways of relating, new ways of connecting. So why am I talking about this today? Well, our topic today is the power of release. The power of release. The reason I'm talking about new systems emerging, new ways of relating emerging, is that for the new to emerge, the old must be released. For new to emerge, the old way must be released, at least in part, so the new way can come forward. On life's journey, you've probably had circumstances and situations where you were guided to go a certain way, or you were offered a position in a new company. And to go into that new position or to go into that new opportunity, you had to let go of the place you were in, right? Or the new could not come forward for you. Some of us have learned that as we learn to release whatever attachment to where we are, new can emerge right where we are as well. What am I speaking of? I'm speaking of today's title, The Power of Release. I wanted to start you off a little early because this Sunday I'm kicking off a series on my book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Release. 7 Spiritual Laws of Release is a book I wrote several years ago, and I continue to sell copies whenever I speak. I do not have the book available on Amazon, and I would be happy to tell you why at another time. But right now, what I want you to know is that my book is available through my website, CynthiaAliceAnderson.com, and I'd be happy to send a book out to you the very soonest I can, and happy to share the information with you. If you are following me at Unity North Tampa, each Sunday I'm going to be doing a different talk on each of the 7 laws. And those 7 laws are talked about in detail in the book. What I'm going to be doing at Unity North Tampa is a little bit of an introductory piece to each of the chapters. And I want to encourage our friends around the world to get a small study group together, because what's so great about this book is that at the end of each chapter, there are group questions, there are discussion points, there are journaling pages for you to make notes on your process, and I've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback, and it's also beautifully designed by a dear friend. So I want to encourage you to get the book and even to watch or listen to the talks at Unity North Tampa on this very topic. Today, we're going to talk in general about the power of release. I've already mentioned a few things that are significant. I've mentioned a few aspects of release that are important, which is release opens us to receive all the good the universe has for us. So no matter how you view God, I think in every world religion I know, we believe that God is loving, that God loves us, that God, in fact, seeks to bless us. So if there are areas of life where we feel stuck, there are areas of life that we don't feel we are manifesting like we could be, then it may be that there's something that needs to be released. So this work of release is powerful, it is transformative, and requires a lot of consciousness on your part. In other words, some conscious effort is going to have to happen on your part to participate in this power of release. The power of release I'm speaking of is mental. This power of release I'm speaking of is emotional. It is at times physical, and it is most certainly spiritual. So this aspect of release that I'm speaking of today touches every single area of your life. Even though this is a spiritual podcast, we know that we are, what I have taught many times is that we are a threefold being. I think it bears repeating because it is a basis for most everything I teach. The idea that we are a threefold being means we are spirit, soul, and body. A lot of us don't think about this aspect that we are soul. We just think about, we go through life and think about what can I get? What can I have? What can I do? And we rarely are thinking about what can I be, or who am I here to be, or what has been guiding this journey all along. And in fact, what's been guiding you largely is the voice of the soul. So it's important to realize we are spirit, soul, and body as we are thinking about this power of release, because those are three distinct aspects of you that are all interrelated. Those three aspects are interrelated. They are part of the larger whole that makes up your consciousness, spirit, soul, and body. But it also will empower you to begin to make even better decisions on behalf of your soul and your soul's journey. You are a soul, dear friends. You have a body. You are a soul. Your identity lies in the infinite, not in this here and now world. We're here in this here and now world, what we oftenly call the third dimension, or people lately have called it 3D, which I think is fun, right? We are here in the third dimension. But why are we here in the third dimension? Well, we're here to grow, prosper, and evolve. We're here to grow our souls. We're here to learn life lessons. We are here to learn life lessons. So if we're souls on a journey, we're here to learn life lessons. We're here to experience all the good the universe has for us. And one of the ways we do that is through the power of release. Often when I speak of the power of release, it causes people to pause and they say, well, why do I have to release? I like everything. I'm scared to release. What will it mean? And these are great questions because, in fact, just to even think about releasing something we're holding on to usually brings up a great deal of anxiety or fear. Anxiety or fear that come up are aspects, of course, of the mind, of the personality, of the aspect of you that's really rooted in the third dimension rather than the aspect of you that's rooted in the higher self or the Christ consciousness. Some people call the fourth dimension of consciousness. So think about that, friends. Think about that. We often don't release the things we're holding on to simply out of fear. Sometimes the decision not to release is very unconscious. We're comfortable, so we don't realize there are things we need to release. But think about a single issue you have in your life right now. Pick any issue that is a struggle for you right now. It could be relational, in a romantic relationship. It could be something with a friendship. It could be financial. It could be physical. It could be a challenge in your thoughts, a mental process. Whatever struggle you're in, there's a place you are and a place you want to be, right? There's a place you are and a place you want to be. So what gets you from the place you are to the place you want to be partially is a release of that resistance to what wants to come forward for you. A release of resistance to what wants to come forward for you. Sometimes the resistance is mental. Sometimes the resistance is emotional. Sometimes it is physical or spiritual. Sometimes it can touch all of those areas. When you're trying to shift into a new way of living, it's going to touch all of those areas, most definitely. And remember, we said that your spirit, soul, and body, so knowing those three aspects are really, really significant in a release process. Well, a release in the area of the body. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight, well, that's a physical release. Well, that's going to require you to think differently about how you eat. It's going to require you to work with the emotions around food. It's going to require you probably to be able to still the mind. So even though it is a physical journey to lose weight, it is a mental process, it is an emotional process, and it is a spiritual process. So we want to elevate or enlighten this idea that as we release, it impacts all the main areas, typically, of our lives, and will require some effort and certainly some consciousness, some thinking through, some praying on, yes, to release in these areas. In my book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Release, I go into various aspects of life. And the very first chapter is the law of giving. Many of us have stuck energy in our financial lives. The two areas I help people with the most are relationship and finance. And usually it's not that there isn't enough money, it's the thinking about money, right? So the first law of release we work with in the book is the law of giving. The law of giving. So right away, as you read the book, you're going to be challenged into more trust in your financial life. And financial aspects of life can really be a journey, friends. I'm in my second year of owning a charitable corporation, and I have had a wonderful lesson and financial journey over the last couple of years. I have had support for learning more about how to manage a corporation. I've had missteps. I've had success in achieving some financial goals. But what is at the root and at the base of that journey has been practicing the law of giving, which most definitely includes my financial tithing. It includes my service to others, right? So all of the 7 laws that I speak about in the book, I have been practicing for years. So I hope as I'm saying all of these things, friends, that you're listening, you're applying to your own life, you're thinking through your journey over the last, say, year or so around this. What's been happening for you? And is there a place, always, friends, we're asking, is there a place I need to release? Recently I was listening to a show. I was listening to a show from earlier in the month, and it was called The Next Frontier of Healing. And we were asking the question, what is my next step to heal? So this piece today is, what is my next to release? And knowing that leads to healing, that leads to abundance, that leads to the accepting of new energy. So in a variety of traditions, there is this teaching about the law of circulation. Often it's called the law of giving and receiving. In the Eastern traditions, it is called the law of cause and effect. The idea is that as we give, as we release out to the universe, that something comes back. So if there's any area in your life that you feel absolutely stuck and you don't know what to do, begin giving or releasing in that area. It often feels the opposite of what you're supposed to do. It often feels the opposite of what you're supposed to do. The ego really fights this idea of release because the ego wants to hold on to what it knows. The ego wants to be comfortable. The ego wants to say, oh no, right? We're not letting go of this. What we learn is, though, that as we hold on, as we're in fear, fear is constricting, right? Fear constricts. And what we seek to do is move into release, which is based in love, knowing there's always enough. When you begin to practice release as a spiritual practice, you really learn that there's always enough. And it really adds to the level of faith that you take into situations. It really intensifies your connection with God because of the level of trust that goes on. And I want to give you a real life example that happened to me recently. So I was with a dear friend and her mom recently, and her mom had some healing challenges. And as I was speaking to her, and it was interesting because before even going over to talk to her, I was really guided to make sure and wear my prayer beads, my prayer mala that I often wear around my wrists. And I had this prayer mala made specifically for me. I chose the stones. I have a dear friend who makes them and has this wonderful energy when she puts them together. So I was super excited when I had gotten this prayer mala about a year ago. It was a new one for me, and I was using it in my meditation time. I wore it on a daily basis to remind me of the aspects of the higher energy, that I was trying to bring in and through my life. So I was really working with these beads. So before I went to see this friend's mom, I was really guided to have that on. And as she was speaking about her healing journey, I thought, I am supposed to give these beads to her. I just had a sense that it would be meaningful. I had a sense that she would feel supported. I had a sense that it would create a connection and that she would feel supported along this health journey. As she spoke and came to the end of her story, I took off my prayer beads and invited her into a process with me on that. And as I gave those beads to her, there was such a feeling of love. There was such a feeling of connection with her, but there was also a feeling of trust in God. because they had meant so much to me. I know it's a small thing, those prayer mala beads, but they were important. I wear them to do talks. I wear them in my meditation time. I wear them around my wrist. Sometimes I wear them around my neck. I just had this really big connection with them. And when I gave them away, I had such a feeling of connection with her and with God. And I just thought, this is most definitely mine to do. Like, it was all systems go from the inside to release this to her. Well, as I left, I thought, my arm feels weird without my prayer beads on it. And it sent me a little bit into a process which I have practiced giving. And this is what I'm practicing really, is the tradition of the giveaway that I've talked about in other shows. It's like it just wanted to go to her. So it wasn't that after I gave it to her, I was upset or mad. It was just, I felt space, And anytime we release, especially something that's important to us, we feel this space, this idea of like, oh, I don't have this right now. So it was this feeling of like, whoa, this feels different. And I thought, maybe this is a step for me to just know this without any prayer beads. Maybe this is a step for me just to know. Maybe this is a step for me just to know without any prayer beads that I'm okay, that God is with me, that my energy is here. It's not in the beads, it's with me. And of course, on some level, I knew that, but it caused me to think, So the simple act of releasing the prayer beads put me into a different spiritual process. It was a wonderful process because after about a week, I thought, should I call my friend who makes these and have her make me another one? And my strong guidance was no. And friends, I have spoken of my guidance many times in the past on the show, and that's just this inner knowing, this inner sense that I get. So every time I checked in about the prayer beads, should I buy another set? The answer was no. And then I said, well, maybe the answer was no, because I'm supposed to get them from our church bookstore. I had my same friend make up prayer malas for my church bookstore for people. People have seen me wear them and say, what are those? And this particular strand, the way they're strung, are from the Buddhist tradition. It's 108 beads. And there's very special meaning around this number, 108. So I've always loved that tradition. So as I went and looked at the ones at church, my guidance, again, friends, was no. So I said, you know what, Spirit? I am just going to completely release the need for prayer beads. And I did a little process and I forgot all about it. Well, as fate would have it, only a couple of weeks later, I received in the mail a gift. And guess what it was, dear friends? It was a gift of a beautiful strand of prayer beads. It was a prayer mala from one of our dear friends and supporters. The beads had meant so much to her, and she felt were instrumental in getting her through a tough time. And she sent them to me, practicing the giveaway that she learned about on this very show. So are you feeling this with me, friends? Like, my heart right now is so open and happy. There's this huge smile on my face. When I opened that gift and saw her handwritten letter with this beautiful gift, and the note said, these are inexpensive beads, but then she went on to tell me the meaning. And friends, they hold that meaning. I can feel the energy in the beads, and they are simple. They're wood. There's a knot in between each wood bead that's red. Beautiful, beautiful beads. Beautiful energy. So what did the release of my prayer beads do to someone who I felt was in a healing need? What did that do? Well, it opened the space for me to get clear, for me to take some of my own power back around my spiritual nature, my spiritual power. It created a connection with me and this friend. It created a deeper connection with God. It caused me to trust. And finally, with this manifestation, as I got this, I realized my feeling, my awareness around this is totally different now. So now as I look at my prayer beads, this new strand, this prayer mala from my friend, from one of our listeners, from one of my students, it reminds me how God is always my source and there is always enough. So through the simple act of releasing something that I already owned, that was given as a gift with a lot of love, I got back so much more than I gave. And that, dear friends, is the power of release. My hope is that as you do this work, friend, that you will experience all the good the universe has for you. Everything in the world tells us to hold on. Everything in our ego says, fear change. Everything in our ego says, hold on tightly. Don't let anybody get it. It's yours. But when we realize it is an abundant universe, when we realize that we and the universe is made out of the fabric of it all is made of love, then in fact, we can release knowing that the universe will always return good to us. And as we work, what happens between that giving and the manifestation, we will definitely receive more than we ever gave. One of the prayers I do at church is at the time of offering. There's a statement I say, which is, we know that whatever we give, basically, will be returned, heaped up, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Right? And that is right from the scriptures. The full phrase of what I say is, Mother, Father, God, we acknowledge this offering as the very substance of your being, created for our use before the world was even formed. We know, acknowledge, and affirm that according to your perfect law, it returns to each giver, heaped up, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And for our increased understanding of this law, we do give thanks. And so it is. Amen. And friends, this is my hope for you. This is my prayer for you. As you release, as you learn to be in the flow of good, that God absolutely will bless you. You are a powerful, powerful soul, dear friend, and you have the capacity to heal, to manifest, to live in abundance. That the universe loves you that much that you get to have what it is you want, what it is you need, that you need to be able to provide for the needs of yourself and your family. Yes, you deserve. You deserve happiness. You deserve goodness. And God always wants to bring you that. So my prayer for you is that you will look within your own mind, heart, body, and soul to see, is there something in my life that needs to be released so I can manifest all the good the universe has for me? So this is my hope for you, dear friend. If you need support on the journey, please check my website at CynthiaAliceAnderson.com. Go there and see about making an appointment. I've got a few appointments available over the next month. And also you can purchase my book there, 7 Spiritual Laws of Release. You just go under the tab that says shop, and we usually get those books out within a couple days. So thank you again for joining me, dear friend. It's always great to have you along the journey. And thank you for telling your friends, sharing our show on social media. We're Happy to support your journey. We're honored, really. And we're always lifting you in prayer for God's highest and best in your life. So blessings on the journey, dear friend, and we hope to see you soon.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2022, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.